Irongold is the fourth installment in Pierce-Brown's Redrising series, and it represents both a continuation and a transformation of the world Brown created. Where the original trilogy followed a tightly focused arc of rebellion and revenge, this book widens the scope for the narrative to delve into the cost of change and the complexities of rebuilding a broken society. This shift is reflected in the prose, structure, character focus, and tone. I believe Irongold is a fantastic book, despite the disdain some of the fans have towards it. Personally, some parts of it rivaled Morningstar for me, and almost was on par with Golden Sun in terms of quality, but not pace. The rest of this video is going to be me trying to convince you, a fellow trilogy lover, who may have not read this yet, or someone who has read it but hates it, and trying to convince y'all that this book is absolutely great. One of the strengths of Irongold is the way Brown uses language to showcase the emotional and moral weight of his story. The prose remains sharp and cinematic, but it also becomes more reflective. Rather than diving solely towards explosions and bullets, he crafts lines that explore regret, hope, and the consequences of your actions. The writing can be brutal at times, and at others quite insightful, as if every sentence carries the echoes of the past decade in history. Brown's style in this novel balances intensity with introspection. Action scenes are clear and vivid, while quieter moments are written with certain emotional depth. This combination helps the novel feel both immediate and thoughtful, like watching a thrilling movie that also makes you question what you just saw. In the original trilogy, Worldbuilding supported a story of uprising, a tightly controlled color caste system, a militarized society, and a hero fighting to dismantle it. By the end of Morningstar, that system is shattered, and Irongold asks, what comes next? Instead of a clean victory, Brown presents a universe in high amounts of unrest. New governments try to form, old resentments persist, and entire worlds struggle under the weight of war's aftermath. This world building is richer because it doesn't offer easy answers. The caste system may be broken, but inequality, corruption, and violence remain. Pierce widens the setting not just geographically or politically, but morally, showing that freedom and justice are not one and the same, and that liberation can leave behind deep scars that may not ever heal. The Republic is less glamorous than the revolution imagined in the previous book. It is messy and uncertain. This complexity makes the problems of the book feel more real and compelling, as opposed to the previously good versus evil motto of the initial trilogy. One of the most noticeable structural changes in Irongold is its multiple perspectives. Instead of just following Darrow, Pierce has 4 POVs that we follow across this narrative being told. We have everyone's favorite hero, Darrow, who is now the arch-imperator of the Republic he helped build, haunted by his choices and still in the thick of war with the Ash Lord Magnus Algrimus. We also have Lysander Alloon, who is the grandson of the previous sovereign, Octavia, who is now raised in exile, struggling with power and identity and the ideals of the Irongold, who closer fit the notions held by the previous rule/empire. The first of our 2 new POVs are Ephraim T. Horn. He's a cynical ex-soldier of the Sons of Ares, whose story is a long one of grief and where it can take you in the worst case scenario. The last of our new POVs is Lyria of Lagalos. She is a red like Darrow, who, dare I say, suffered more than him before he became reborn as a gold, and is what Darrow would have been had he not had his come up through the help of Dancer, Fitchner, Mickey, Harmony, Mateo, etc. This ensemble approach does more than broaden the plot, it deepens it. Each perspective brings moral complexity and emotional nuance. Darrow's chapters carry the weight of leadership and regret. Lysander's voice brings up old traditions and the confusion of belonging. Ephraim is the definition of drowning your sorrows away, quite literally. Lyria's chapters are amongst the most emotional because they show how war fractures ordinary lives. Through these voices, Brown creates a chorus rather than a solo performance. The result is a story that feels expansive and layered instead of linear and predictable. Lysander's chapters carried this book hard. He had the most interesting dialogue, thoughts, and events to be caught up in, such as his conflicts with the Raz, his strained relationship with Cassius, and how the Rising turned his life upside down. Darrow's was cool, but I was more interested in Severo, and seeing the bond fracture hurt to see, and I hope to see Darrow rectify that in Dark Age and Lightbringer. Ephraim's perspective was the hardest to adjust to, mainly because it was the first new character. But after a while, he became alright to be with, especially later on seeing the toll the war took on him, with him seeing his fellow teammates of the Ares get skinned alive, losing his lover, Trig, Holiday's brother, and being forgotten about by the people he supported so much. It really is a story about grief, and this was told wonderfully. You just have to let it sit for a while. Lyria's was easy to get around since she was justified in her anger, seen by losing her family and watching how the Reds and Gammas get treated on a daily basis. She quite literally was Darrow, but never had that reborn moment. She was just a regular person, but in this universe, that's more like a peasant. I loved her dynamic with Cavax Telemanus, seeing her talk to the Sovereign in that whole situation, with the Oracle being placed on her arm. Lyria also did get to meet Ephraim. However, he ran by the name Felipe at first, as it was all a ruse to use her for his plan with the Syndicate, an underworld organization. Despite her being used, I loved how she felt understood and not pitied for once by someone ever since her and her nephew moved to Hyperion. And there was a line so beautiful and simple that it touched me. To paraphrase it, it was pretty much Ephraim telling Lyria that she was something special and unique, and not to let the world dim her light. On its own, that would mean absolutely nothing. But in the context of Lyria's story, it means so much, and to fill her up with hope, even it being false, made my heart swell with joy. If I had to rank the POVs from favorite to least favorite, it'd be Lysander, Darrow, Lyria, and Ephraim. It's nice to live in other people's minds besides Darrow's for once and get to see a bigger stage. Perhaps the most striking choice Brown makes in the book is how he deals with the aftermath of Morningstar. That book ended with the overthrow of the oppressive society, a revolutionary climax many readers would expected would signal the start of a hopeful new world. Irongold doesn't dismiss hope, but it refuses to romanticize it. In the novel, the Republic is fragile, civil unrest, old prejudices, and political chaos challenge every step forward. The characters are forced to confront the reality that winning a war does not automatically fix the problems that caused it. Brown asks difficult questions. Can a society truly heal after systematic violence? Do heroes become symbols people worship rather than humans with flaws? What happens to individuals left behind by grand narratives of liberation? This unflinching look at post-revolution life makes Irongold richer and more thoughtful than a simple tale of victory. It is a story of consequences, good intentions, bad choices, unexpected outcomes, and the heavy cost of rebuilding. Even though I think Irongold is wonderful, its differences from the original trilogy unsettled some fans. For instance, in regards to the tone shift, the original books were fast-paced, focused, and centered on the clear goal of destroying this tyrannical system. This book is more introspective and political, prioritizing moral ambiguity over straightforward action. There's also the cases of the new POVs. Some readers prefer the singular intensity of Darrow's voice. The shift to multiple perspectives requires patience and emotional investment in characters with very different motivations. There's also the lack of immediate triumph. Irongold does not offer a triumphant, everything's all good ending. Instead, it shows that even after victory, suffering and injustice can persist. For readers hoping for a more straightforward continuation of the original trilogy's momentum, this was a difficult transition. I hope I did a good enough job convincing y'all that this book is absolutely fantastic. While, it doesn't reach the heights of Golden Sun, still is miles better than Red Rising and rivals Morningstar for me. Yeah, it's just amazing, and I hope, if you haven't read past Morningstar, please do give this book a chance. And I think it's actually better going into Irongold knowing about the new POVs and the wider scope and it not being so action heavy, because I think if you ran into it with blind without knowing what it was right after Morningstar, that would be the most jarring thing for you. But since I already knew that going ahead of time, it wasn't as jarring for me, and I just kind of knew where to go in. And to be honest, it was kind of getting nauseating being in Darrow's head all the time and being like, I wonder what that person's thinking, or I wonder how is Darrow viewed from other people's perspectives. And here you get to see that, Darrow and his wife Virginia, or the Sovereign in this case, Mustang, aren't viewed as heroes. Lyria literally views them as the devil. Ephraim is like, well, I wasted my life for you, and for what? And Lysander, If you read Morningstar, you know where that's headed. And I hear it only gets more diabolical and better in Dark Age, which I got coming today via Amazon. And after when I'm done with that, I want to read Lightbringer. So yeah, this year's looking up for us. I hope you can't hear the rain that's going on outside. Melbourne is crazy. But yeah, I hear it only gets better and better. And I hope you enjoyed behind me. My green screen won't extend all the way, but I got all the different POVs. So depending which way you're watching this, which I think it's the same way, the far left, that's Lyria, the red. You got Lysander, the grandson, the second left. And then second right next to Lysander, that's Ephraim, he's a gray. And then you got Darrow on the far right. So yeah, I figured that would help as a visual aid. I probably should have said that earlier, but you know, for those of y'all that stuck around and actually have the patience, thank you. That's what this was for. So thank you for listening to me waffle on about the books I love, just anything in general. I don't know when that Dark Age review will be coming, but I'll probably say in the next month or two. Month on the close end, 2 on the later end. But yeah, thanks for listening to me waffle, and thank you for, you know, watching if you did watch this far and didn't skip. This is Black Sugar 11 out.